What's up, everybody? Thanks for checking out the Among the Ashes podcast. We're your hosts, Wes and Chris. We hope you enjoyed part one of Consumed by Cali with Scott Brown. But before we get into part two, if you're listening to us on Spotify, please hit that follow button. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button or that like button. Leave us a comment, either place. It really does help us out. Now, without further ado, let's get into part two of Consumed by Cali with Scott Brown.
And that's where we're supposed to do it.
Yeah, and I can tell a huge difference in just my own spiritual walk from being, and there again, I don't agree with everything that happens in a Pentecostal church on Sunday. You know what I mean? Being out of it for so many years, I look back and I can say, yeah, there's probably a lot of emotion in that. But being in a non-Pentecostal church, and there again, I'm not bashing our church because it's great. Ours is truly free to worship, but it's different. Yeah. And I can tell for me the difference in the way that I feel by worshiping or not worshiping. You know what I mean? Or feeling constricted. Not that our church makes you feel constricted, but I have been in some scenarios since we've been out of the Pentecostal Church of God, since we left, that you definitely don't feel that freedom. Right. And then, you know, we get back to our our church now, and then you feel that freedom again, which I don't go as often as I should, but there's a difference when you truly freely worship God, whether it be in your home or at church or wherever, versus just praying.
Indeed. Yeah. So I to flash back. So now they're in the Pentecostal church, right? So here I'd already smoked weed, I already smoked cigarettes, I already drank. You know what I mean? There was just one kid in 8th grade, right? Didn't like me, couldn't stand me. I guess because I was so popular. You know what I mean? Because that's what my first agenda with 7th grade was. Let folks know I'm that guy. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I started to play guitar. You know, 7th and 8th grade. So I'm coming into my own. Right. You know, now I'm hanging with the cool kids, and so this one dude, friends with him on Facebook now, by the way, which is ironic. 8 times we fought in 8th grade. Oh, wow. Yeah, he just walk up to me first period, man, just start swinging, you know? And every time I whooped his butt, he just couldn't get, you know what I mean? I was a little bit bigger, you know, but because I've always been that what is a...
Husky.
No, yeah, husky, yeah. Yeah, because, dude, Sears had the slim, the regular, and the husky.
Yeah, so I was a chubby kid, and Mom brought some husky pants home. I was like, what is this? She said, well, it's just a brand. I said, no, you're saying I'm fat. I'm not wearing these. Yeah. You know?
Oh, yeah, no, it's a husky. So, but anyways, almost got expelled. Got suspended twice for fighting. Of course, teachers roll up as I'm throwing my jigs. You know what I'm saying? So it looks like you started it. It looks like I started it, you know, and of course, told my dad, you know, I always won. Because he said, if you get your butt whipped at school, you're going to get your butt whipped when you get home. You know what I mean? Because I shouldn't be fighting. Right. But if somebody starts it, and I finish it, you know, we're cool. But so here I was, fighting, suspended. Like I said, weed, alcohol, already smoking cigarettes. You know, AC/DC sang a song about it. I'm a problem child. Yeah. You know what I mean? So 9th grade, guess where I'm going?
I would say
Christian school.
Oh, nice. I was going to say alternative school, but you know, juvenile hall.
Yeah, because if I'd have gotten expelled, I'd have went to alternative school. But they went to this new church, and this new church had a Christian school in the city, but not our city. We lived in Newark. The Christian school was in Fremont, but because we were members of the church, see, I could go to the Fremont school. I just have to be either bused or driven in.
Did your parents have to pay tuition for that? Or?
I think they did.
So now not only are you getting in trouble in public school, but now you're getting in trouble where they're paying for it.
Yes.
Great, Scott.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm a problem child. Right. Well, let's just send him to Christian school.
Yeah.
I got there, and there was a lot of good kids. You know what I mean? It was a great school. I had some great teachers. They paddled, which is probably one of the last situations in California where they paddle. Yeah. Because they do not paddle.
Which I think they should 100% bring back.
Dude, I got my butt torn up so many times here in Alabama, and just, you know, I go stories about that. But there were a lot of troubled kids in there.
Yeah.
A lot of kids in
Well,
my same
so I
situation.
had a buddy that was a teacher at a Christian school, and he said, you think you've got the kids that people are sending there because they want them in a Christian environment.
Right.
I preached at one of the local Christian schools one time, and the principal at the time, I had a mohawk. I get it. I had a mohawk and skinny jeans and holes in them. I mean, anyway, typical 2000s youth pastor, I guess. But I rolled up in there to preach one time, and she came up and she said, so you're the speaker? And it was last minute. Like one of my students called, somebody had canceled. I'm in the bed that morning, like 6:45. Hey, bro, dude canceled on chapel. Can you come? I was like, yeah, man, I'll be there. So it was right across the street. So I got up and went. She comes up to me. She looks down her nose at me. She said, you're the speaker? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, let's make sure to keep it about the kids. We've got all types of denominations, all types of backgrounds here. Some of them are Christian, some of them are not. Just make sure to keep it about the kids. I looked down, bent down, tied my shoe, my Chuck Taylors. Looked back up at her and I said, Miss So and so, how about we keep it about Jesus? Isn't that why I'm here? So
Oh
I got up and I
man,
preached, and I had
man.
45 minutes. Chapel was an hour and 20 minutes into it. They're trying to usher kids back to class because they're all in the altar blowing snot, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, how about let's just tell them the truth? Let's tell them about
Wow.
Jesus because that's why they're here.
Yes.
But in hindsight, talking to my buddy that worked there, he said, you think that people come here, and some do because it's a Christian environment. But a lot of these kids are kids who have been expelled and they have no other choice.
Hmm.
There's nowhere else they can go.
Yeah.
And their parents have to send them here because they have to go to school. And it's a law.
And I would have gone to, that was,
Homeschool probably wasn't an option back then.
well, that was, no, it wasn't. And it was, that was high school.
Yeah.
So that was ninth grade. So my only options were two schools on the other side of town that were not very good schools.
Right.
And I guarantee I would have digressed because they actually joined because they were on the same side of town. And two schools kind of joined in 81, 82, I think, to be one high school.
Mm-hmm.
And which I actually went to before, but that's so. Anyways, I'm eighth grade, and I'm getting. I saw ninth grade, but let me tell a quick, fascinating story about eighth grade and ninth grade because I was failing in social studies in eighth grade. Right, I had a D. It was either a D or a D minus, pretty close to an F. I had to get like a B on the final to make it out of eighth grade, to go to ninth grade. And I hated social studies. The history part of it was cool, but I just couldn't get into it, So the final exam had like 20 questions, and I had some study material for the 20 questions. So I felt like I did pretty good. The second part of the final was an essay question. State the preamble to the Constitution. And I'm sitting there 10 minutes and I got "we the people."
Yeah, I can't do that now.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I read it, you know what I mean? I read it 100 times and just couldn't, there are too many big words in there, you know what I mean? To come correct. So, thank the Lord for Schoolhouse Rock. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here I am, right?
Yep.
I start singing the song, "We the people, in order to form a more perfect union."
Yep.
So I'm singing the Schoolhouse Rock song as I'm writing this down, dude. I passed it and got a C. It was either a high D or a low C in social studies and made it to ninth grade thanks to Schoolhouse Rock.
And it's we make fun of that stuff, but
Dude, that stuff was fabulous.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
there's,
I'm looking at it now and say, how brilliant was that?
I can't remember. It was on PBS or something like that in the early 2000s, late night. Well, it would have been early to mid 2000s because my nephew, it was something about the Magic School Bus, maybe that's what it was called, and it was about science, and they would shrink down in this bus and they would go inside human bodies and look at different things or whatever.
Yeah.
And my nephew said that helped me in science more than my teachers helped me.
Oh yeah.
It's funny how those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, all of them. You think about the lessons, conjunction, junction.
Yeah,
You
well,
know what I mean? I
and
just
considering that everybody who wrote those shows looked like they were tripping on acid, you know
oh
what I
yeah,
mean, when they wrote them.
oh yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's crazy how.
So so Christian school barely made it out, but um, if I got nothing out of that freshman year at Fremont Christian High School, um, I met a friend, and his name was David, and he'll probably come up a couple more times in the situation, but um, I can call David today, and it's like we hadn't missed a lick.
Yeah,
So we're talking about 44 years, you know. So I think because where we're both at now, you know what I mean. I think God created that relationship,
sure.
you know, for you know, not only for us to be there for each other through all this other crap
Yeah,
that went down, but the fact that we can just, you know what I mean, come back now. And he
yeah,
grew up in the same, went to the same church, same parents. Parents were strict. I'm talking about. So, um, you know, from that, things just kind of digressed from there. You know, only Fremont Christian there. I started um, one of those high schools before they merged that one year, and then the next year they merged. The two high schools did. So it was getting really, really bad at home, and Dad was kind of starting to figure some of the stuff out. You know, like some of the lies, some of the garbage she was doing was catching up with her,
hmm
and it was just they were already having friction, financial. Um, you know, he had his own barbershop. So that was really stressful because he had to pay people, and
hmm
you know, in that part of town where his shop was, rent was really high, so it was a big demand. You know what I mean? He was under a lot of pressure,
yeah,
and she worked for a chemical company across the bay, made great money. I mean, they were knocking it down, you know, to be in the 80s. Um, but it came to where um, it was a sophomore year. Sean was eighth grade, 3 years behind, maybe. He was still at the school that I had left, you
hmm
know, got in trouble in. And um, Dad says, let's go for a ride. You know, just puts me and Sean in the car. And we're just riding. And we had been struggling. And in the meantime, every summer during those years, from 1978 or whatever, we're going back to
just back
mom's,
and forth.
come here every summer. You know what I mean? And met friends here,
And I'm sure
and
it's a big
you know,
culture difference too, though, from California to
oh
Alabama in
yeah,
those
the
years.
thing, the clothes I would wear, they'd be like, what? You know, it's like, you know, the MC Hammers wasn't even out yet, and
Yeah,
you know, I was wearing that stuff. They were
yeah,
like 5, 10 years behind. Um, but some of the friendships that I'd forged during those summers, and Grandma lived in Trussville, so we went to the Trussville pool, and every year we'd first get here, Grandma would have passes for all three of us, so whole summer pass.
hmm
You know what I mean? So we'd just go, come as we wanted. But um,
And Tony would get to come with you guys.
yeah, well,
He
Tony was still here.
okay,
You
so
know,
they were living here.
yeah, they were
Okay,
living here.
that's right.
Tony
That's
never
right.
left here.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Tony went to Locust Fork, you know, almost all of his years. Then got um, Alabama School of Fine Arts, accepted him
Nice.
playing guitar. Yeah, so he just, you know, he just blossomed because I was playing guitar and I kept. He was 8 years old, and I started teaching him guitar, and then I left.
Yeah.
You know, I went out to California and was just coming back for the summers. Well, he just
Just put it
became
into it.
he
Yeah.
just became the sponge because that's all he did.
Yeah.
He'd come home from school, just play guitar till he went to bed. You know what I mean? So, and that shows because you know
He's pretty phenomenal.
he's a phenomenal guitar player. Yeah, but so on this ride, Dad takes him to ride and he says, "Mary Ann and I are getting divorced." I was like, "Where does that put us? You know, what are we going to do?" He's like, "Well, I got you this weekend flying back to Alabama. I've already talked to your mom. You know, so you're just get whatever personal effects you got and stuff you want to keep. We'll pack it up in suitcases and send you on your way. You know, we were like, yes, yes. Couldn't, you know,
Yeah.
we missed mom. We knew, you know, we didn't know. She was in Trustful at the time, so lived in Trustful. So I came back out middle of my sophomore year to Hewitt Trustful, and already had friends. So it was cool.
Right.
I didn't have to.
Didn't have to.
I didn't have to
Right.
establish that because my friends were like, "Hey, here's my buddy Scott from California. He's moved back here now." You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? So it's like all the people I met after that was I was already established because I had those cool friends
Right.
that were here. You know, so that was probably the easiest transition that I'd ever made in my life. And at this time, I'm 15 years old. You know, different situation. You know, mom's still married, but there was no, you know, that stopped then and never happened again. So um, it was just another transition. But then I'd already experienced a few things in life, but now I was kind of hanging out with other folks and,
Yeah.
you know, smoking a little more. Again, drinking was my thing,
Yeah.
you know, so it was just mainly smoking weed and you know, somebody get a 6-pack of beer, I might have one
Yeah.
just to be cool while it was, you know, because I cotton mouth from being high
Right.
anyways, right? So,
Right.
you know, got my driver's license in Alabama, went down to Arkadelphia, you know what I'm saying, down there and was
Freaking
it?
nightmare now.
Oh, dude, yeah, but and you imagine being a 16-year-old kid and pulling out on that
Yeah.
intersection of that, you know, but anyway, so really didn't I couldn't tell you when I went to church after that.
Mm.
Mom really wasn't going anywhere. Sunday and Monday were her only days off, you know, because she worked Saturday. Um, not because she didn't want to go. I know it was later on that she started going. You know, I think she went with my aunt. So mom started going there after Trustful, and made some of the best friends. Um, matter of fact, I'm still on the reunion page,
Mm-hmm.
and our 40
Yeah.
is this year, so I'm planning on attending the 40.
It's crazy. 40 years, man. I was doing the
Dude,
math the other day, and I've been out something like 27 years or something like that,
it's
and it's so fast.
it flies, dude.
Yeah.
And the older I get, it's like it's almost June,
Yeah.
and it was just like New Year's Day was
Yeah.
a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
You know,
It's faster every year. It seems
yeah,
like.
yeah, it does, it does.
Mom always said, "Don't wish your life away," because when you have kids, you're gonna blink and it's gonna be over.
And my
You know?
body seems to be breaking down at that breakneck
Yeah.
speed
Yeah.
with the time, you know. So developed some great relationships, man, and still I never, I really was not in church and didn't even care about the Lord or anything else, you know. I was just living my life and trying to be me,
Yeah.
trying to develop who I was and what I was going to do, and did pretty good at Hewitt. Went half of my sophomore, all of my junior year. Like I said, made some priceless friends I still have today. One just passed away last year. Suddenly, my best friend
Yeah.
from there, you know. That was pretty hard to take, but he was the same way as Dave was in California. I'd be in California 4 or 5 years and call Chris and be like, dude, let's say, you know what I mean? And it's
Right.
just, it's Katie bar the door.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we're right back where we were.
Right.
But, you know, got into some trouble. Not a whole lot. Had my first job bagging groceries at Western Supermarket in Trustful.
Nice.
It's now the, I don't know, it's a Dollar General or
Yeah.
something there next to the fish place.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so my cousins are all older than me. And I had an uncle, my mom's baby brother, was an oops. She was like 14 when he was born.
Mm.
And I was born when she was 18. So he was less than 5 years old. So it's always like I had an older brother,
Yeah.
sort of, you know. So I had all these guys around me that were older, so I always hung around with the older kids. My cousin was like, "Hey man, my buddy's having a pool party. Stroh's was a beer. I don't even know if they make it anymore.
Wow, heard of it.
Yeah, but they would Stroh a pool party. If you won this contest, man, they come out with the blow ups and the pool and the beer and the DJ and all this other stuff, and do this. So I had to work that day, and I spent the night at my cousin's house. We were just hanging out smoking weed, and he said, "Hey man, they're having a Stroh. So and so's having a Stroh pool party. When do you want to come?" I was like, not a drinker. He was like, "Oh, he's got a bunch of other things, and there's gonna be a bunch of girls there and whatnot, And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So that morning I called work and said, "Hey, I'm, spent the night at my cousin's house. I got something. I'm sick. I can't make it." He said, "Okay, man, I hope you feel better." Guy was a great Christian guy, the boss or the manager, whatever. So we go to the party and spend all day. And I drank a few beers, but I mostly smoked. And so I was okay to drive back home. And I put my shirt back on, my apron and all that, rolled up in the house, And mom and my stepdad are sitting at the table in the kitchen as soon as I walk in the back door. So how was work? I'm like, "Oh, I didn't get many tips, you know what I mean? I was just trying to ride that." Well, she said, "Well, your boss called, checking on you,
Wow.
see how you were, because said you called in sick. And I had told him that you may have been sick, but you were at your cousin's house. But I hadn't heard from you. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't know, I haven't heard from him." So they figured it all out. And he said, "Well, just tell him to come pick up his check when he comes back in." Yeah, my first job, man. And with my first check, I told mom, "So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy that big old slab of beef." Took it to my buddy who was the butcher. Right, my first paycheck at Western. Had that cut up into steaks and ground beef. Brought that all home, my first paycheck, and brought it to mom. She cried.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like, and it's still one of my favorite memories that I provided. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I finally brought something to the table.
I'm contributing.
Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, he said, "Just tell you, come get your check."
Mm.
And then she said, "Go ahead and put your keys on the table. And I'll resume picking up your insurance when I think you can drive the car again."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had to get a ride the bus. When you've already had your own
blow
car,
to your ego, man.
dude, when you've already had your own car and you're already driving. But the thing was, it kind of fired back on her too, because Tony was at the elementary school, Sean was at the middle school,
and you're not.
And I was the taxi.
Yeah.
I took them to school because they were all right there, up on the hill in Trustful. You know what I mean? So, she kind of had to figure that out, But she wasn't backing off. She wasn't backing off for the grounding or her stance. You know what I mean? That's just, you lost your job. Yeah, I understand that may be bad enough for you, but no, you've abused those privileges.
Yeah.
And so 17, my first girlfriend, first love, Dad was awesome. Your own car, your first girl, I'm not going to mention any names.
Sure.
But we're still friends on Facebook.
Yeah. I don't know if Debbie needs to know that.
No, she does.
No.
Oh, yeah. There ain't no
secrets there.
No, because that was the one thing when Debbie and I got together. You know what I mean? There's no secrets. There's no stories. There's no nothing. And we had laid the cards on the table, bro.
Well, and that's the way it should be, man.
Every marriage, every relationship should be like that.
Yeah. At the point communication breaks down, your marriage is doomed.
Yeah.
It's doomed.
Yep.
You've got to talk to one another. And it's hard to do sometimes, It's very hard to do. And most people that I've talked to, and it's like your secrets aren't even worth keeping. It's like, why do you... That's the way the devil works. He gets in your ear, and and you think it's this big thing, and it's like, it's really not.
Yeah.
Just tell them. Yeah. They're your partner. They're your mate. If they love you and it's the right person, they're going to understand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And if you do that, then there's not room for infidelity or sneaking around or any of that other stuff, because you can tell them.
Right.
There's no excitement in it. So, it's you keep your marriage exciting. You ain't got to worry about none of the other stuff.
And I was a heartbreaker, mainly because I would get a girlfriend and it was a lot. it really wasn't me. I mean, I would just go where I had to go.
Yeah.
You know, when I was younger, I had a little, you know, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, get a girlfriend. In a year or two, he's gone.
Right.
You know, so I was always, so I was considered a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Broke that girl's heart because my dad had said, "Hey, man, I got an apartment across the street from my alma mater. Why don't you come graduate at my alma mater?" You know, I was like, "Dad, I don't know, dude. I got a car, man. I got, you know what I'm saying? I'm established here, and I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, I ain't knocking it back, but I'm living pretty good.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy doing what I'm doing." He's like, "Well, I'll buy you a motorcycle." I was like, "Oh, cool." And he said, "You could walk across the road, and that's the high school campus." I was like, "Oh, yeah." So, you know, convincing, whatever. So I'd already, you know, had gotten into several other things, you know, by this time. And I was like, "Okay, I'll go." So summer, I went back out there, and that's when the doo-doo hit the wind machine. You know what I'm saying?
Went downhill.
That's when, yeah, that's when I started getting into other stuff,
Yeah.
and doing some drugs, and you know, hanging out with the wrong folks.
Sure.
And that's where I think about the majority of the crap that I got into was hanging with the wrong folks.
Yeah.
Still had no, at this point, knew, I don't even know if I knew right from wrong at that point.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I had no consideration for God or anything that they had to offer. The church.
Yeah.
You know, I just didn't, I was living life. And at least when I was here in Alabama, there was, oh, this is the Bible Belt, dude.
Yeah,
You're going to
there's
hear
some
about
sort
the
of-
Lord
yeah.
standing in line at the
Yeah.
grocery store when somebody's
don't-
testifying, you know?
We don't realize how blessed we are living where we live.
Exactly.
As
And-
far as your walk with Christ goes, and you know, as bad as this is going to sound, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because it's always in our face,
Mhm.
but I think sometimes it takes us a lot longer to develop that relationship and that fire with God that people who are not in this area that I know, you know, up north or out west, when they meet Jesus, like it's transformation.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's almost like here in the South when you meet Jesus, I got saved.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but people out there, it's like a radical change, and that's really what it should be. You know, for me, you know, I got saved at 8 years old, baptized, whatever, but I gave my life to Christ at 18, and it was a radical transformation. I was never a bad kid. You know, I did my dirt or whatever, but I was always scared of getting caught or getting or dying or whatever. So I always had that fear in me. Thank God, but I see so many people that it's like, yeah, I got saved, no big deal.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, do you understand what giving your life to Christ is? It's not giving up anything. It's gaining everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I can't think of any single thing that I just had to give up, but I can think of so many things that I gained
Oh, yeah.
in that moment,
Oh, yeah.
you know, just instantly, you know?
Yeah.
So I
Like
think
the prize pack for,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
And like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a great thing that it's that way because it's constantly in front of you.
Right.
And you're constantly thinking, you know, I can't do that because of this, or I can't do that because of this. But at the same time, it's almost like, well, I can't do this if I want to live that way, so I'm not going to.
Right.
You know, so it's just extreme.
Yeah, there was no concept there.
Yeah.
And there were churches, and there were Baptist church. My grandfather built the first free will Baptist church in Northern California.
Wow.
Him and 4 or 5 other guys. I mean, physically built
Yeah.
the building. You know what I mean? And they were Okies. My dad's parents were from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, my grandfather was the first generation born off the reservation.
Wow.
Yeah, the Choctaw tribe. So my great grandfather was born on the reservation in Oklahoma, and they were the first to come out and own land. You know, so then Dust Bowl, they went to California, you know, and the progression of all that. But yeah, they were just Okie, so they knew, you know, there was always churches. There was always churches everywhere, but the predominance in California was the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then it's like, it seemed to me like most of them just went to mass on Saturday or
Yeah.
Sunday, and that was it. And then when they felt bad about something, they went and hollered at dude in the box, and you know what I mean? So that it
just no
so
relationship.
there was zero effect on me at that point. And I got into trouble. I was there's no shame. There's no shame. Here we go. Was slinging dope, selling it, selling weed, selling methamphetamine, selling pills, LSD. I mean, I was right there, and I had that motorcycle, you know. So I'm almost out of high school. I'm almost ready to graduate. This is like March, and in California, you graduate in June because you don't start till September. Excuse me. So I had a buddy of mine. His dad was a superintendent for the laborers union, and on a job site. And he's like, "Hey, man, we need a bunch of laborers out here. Laborers union, $18 an hour.
Oh, in the 80s. That's
$18 an hour in 1983. You know what I'm saying? And I was kingpin.
Yeah.
He said, but you gotta quit school. You know, you gotta leave school and go on this job site. Well, midway through the summer, right, or beginning of the summer, the job ended. They laid us all off. I could go back to the hall because I was now in the laborers union. But I thought, well, let me go see if I can go to summer school and make up the time. They said, no, not only can you not go to summer school, but you have to repeat the entire senior year because you didn't have enough credits.
Yeah.
You know, how could you even go half year or summer school in a half year? So I was like, forget about it. So I just started slinging, you know what I mean? And I would go to the high school on a motorcycle at lunchtime. You know what I'm saying? I was slinging dope to kids.
Give me lunch money.
Yeah, I was, you know what I mean? I was the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I had a couple of friends and of course my dealer too, but I was pretty slick, you know? I mean, I already been in the game. I was a city boy. I could make it, you know, I could make it happen and I could get away. Dad still had that barbershop across town, you know, and I was still staying at his place. He knew I was smoking weed. I don't think he knew that I was.
Yeah, the extent of it.
The extent of it, you know what I mean? He knew I partied. He knew I got into some other stuff too. You know what I mean? And all this time, keep in mind, not a drinker. Still could not, you know, again, cold beer or something. Dad has one in the fridge, drink the cold beer, you know. But I'm 18. Drinking age was 19, by the way. That's a story for another time.
Yeah.
So Dad knew all the people in the city, the mayor, the police chief, I'm talking about, he was well connected. He was a business owner and he did hair. So most of the cops, most of the firemen, you know, all these guys came to him to get their hair cut. You know, he was just that dude. Plus he was one of the few conservatives in California,
right.
You know, and thank God he brought me up that way, but that's a story for another time.
Right.
All right. So he has got the police chief in his barber chair. Right. Let me set the stage for you here. He's got the police chief in his barber chair, bib around his neck, the whole thing, saying, so you need any cool stories? And you know, what's going on? You eating juice? You tell me a cool story. Somebody got busted or whatever. He said, well, I'll tell you what, man. There's this cat we've been after. He's about 5'10", red hair, black motorcycle. And we know where he's slinging. We know where he's going. But he just disappears. And said, we've been on this guy for months. Just trying to get him and find out who his man is.
Right.
They didn't care about me.
Right.
They knew I was just a small time slinger.
Yeah.
So, and he says he always disappears. And he said, now, well, this is, I don't want to jump forward. But I was walking home one day. I didn't have my motorcycle. I was just going down the block or something. Walking back up, and a buddy of mine goes, hey, man, don't go home. We had one of those apartments that you had to push the button. Somebody had to buzz you in the door, you know. He said, I went up to buzz your door, and somebody said, Scott's not home. He said, I looked at this dude. He had glasses, the aviator glasses on, you know what I'm saying? Total cop. He's like, there's a total cop at your house. And he said, he's not there. Do you know where he is? And he started trying to find me. So they already knew where I was.
Yeah.
You know, I guess because they saw my motorcycle in the complex or whatever. So I knew what was up. I knew they were on me. I knew they had my name and knew where I was at. So I sold my motorcycle back to the dude I got it from. And I got a one-way Greyhound bus ticket from San Jose, California to Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, man.
And I was gone.
Yeah.
So here's dude, he's saying, I just don't understand it. Right? We've been casing this guy for months. And it's by now, Dad, when he's describing me, Dad knows exactly who he's talking about.
Right.
And Dad can't say nothing. You know what I mean? Just, oh my gosh, Dad is just about to, you know, just die laughing because he's realized who he's talking about. Not that it was funny.
Right.
But just the fact that this guy was just baffled. I was like friggin' Houdini. You know what I'm saying? They've been searching for months. They always disappear. But now, no trace of me.
Just gone.
Gone without a trace. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Probably
dodge
the
that
smartest
bullet.
thing you ever did.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that was horrible, by the way. You want to talk about 4 or 5 days on a Greyhound bus?
Yeah.
And it stops at and it went like down the 10 that goes down the southern part of the United States, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, you know, all of it, all the way across the bottom. It stopped in every little podunk flea bit town.
Oh,
and it was just horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. And I didn't have hardly any money.
Yeah.
I barely had enough to get something to eat. I think I ate crackers, little packs of crackers, you know. But got back here and my cousin was like, dude, I'm going to the military. I was like, well, good for you, man. You know, I have no intention of doing anything like that. He's like, oh man, come on, we can go in together and all this other stuff. Well, he told me this before I left when I talked to him. And he's like, if you come back out, man, because I was talking to him. I called my cousin. I said, dude, I'm coming back. I'm going to need some kind of, can you find me a job? Where you working? You know, can you kind of get me set up so I'm not just rolling in and
just here,
you know, just here a dirtbag and getting in trouble. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to join and all this. And this is a few months before. And I said, you know, maybe I'll do that, man. When I get out there, we'll go talk to recruiters, see what's up. You know, maybe I'll do it. I can get some money for education. Maybe I can finish my school, you know.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I hadn't graduated.
Right.
You know? So when I get here, where was my cousin? He'd already joined. He figured if he joined first, he'd always have a stripe on me.
Yeah.
Dirtbag, man. You know what I mean? So I decided that, you know, I worked for a little bit here and there and decided that's what I was going to do.
So you joined the Army?
Yeah, joined the Army. It's in the 20 Special Forces group.
And how long was you in?
You had to, at that time, you had to sign up for 8 years. So you had to sign like a 3x5, a 5x3, a 4x4, and I signed a 5x3, which was 5 active, 3 inactive.
Right.
Yeah. So, and it was from mainly in the South. I figured, you know, they told you, no, if you join up down here, they're going to send you as far away from home as you can go. Well, I went to basic in South Carolina, jump school at Fort Benning, was up to Fort Lee in Virginia. I mean, I just, you know, I stayed
you know,
down here.
I often wonder, like, did they even really know, or do they just feed you a good story? You know, you know, you and your buddy can join and y'all can stay together, and they never let them stay together.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
No, that probably wouldn't have been the case if we'd have joined together.
Yeah.
You know, because we definitely had different, what do they call MOSs? Your tech school. Yeah. We had different at tech schools, even though we wound up in the same department, you know, because we wound up in the motor pool because I was going to be a parachute rigger. You know, the guy packing the parachutes. Mm-hmm. So I hung out with the riggers at the unit. Well, I got hurt in Virginia. I had a crash and burn and had a really serious head injury. And developed narcolepsy as a result of the injury. So I'd be in class and just be like,
just fall asleep.
Just fall asleep. I was standing up in the back of the room was so full. Or being stand up in the back and fall asleep.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So they said, well, we can't have you packing chutes, man.
Right.
That's,
Right. It's
you
a
know,
little
so
dangerous.
yeah, they sent me over to Fort Dix, I think, for light wheel vehicle mechanic school, and I actually ended up being in the motor pool with my cousin after all, you know. But the relationships developed there, and the friendships, you know what I mean, and the military straightened my butt out.
Yeah.
For the most part, for a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not a huge supporter of the draft per se, because if you don't want to go, you shouldn't have to.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, I think it would be good if the United States in general said, "Hey," and I know you, where do you draw the line between males and females, especially nowadays? But um, I think it would be good if every male or female did 2 years.
I agree.
Not
100%.
active. You don't have to
Right.
fight.
Right.
You are not required to go fight unless you want to.
Right.
But 2 years of some sort of training, and hey, in that 2 years you can get your associates, and if you want to pursue your bachelor's after that, you can.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot of expense on the country and things like that, but um,
No, but you're talking about the development of people that are going to run this country.
Yeah, yeah, they achieve.
You know?
And I'm not saying that people that don't go to military, that go to college or go straight to work, I'm not saying they're not successful and they don't achieve things. They very much do. But I've seen so many young people that just had no path.
I think I actually think you should have an option.
Yeah,
Right. You should have an option of 2 years in the military or 2 years in trade school.
yeah.
Some sort of
well,
program.
You
know,
do
you know
have the
saying?
option. Nobody takes it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
I think that I don't know. I'm not. I guess it's kind of hard to put what I'm thinking in words. I'm not saying active duty. You got to go and fight for the country. If you want to do that, great. But 2 years of military service or trade school, it just be a mandatory thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just continuing education.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Would benefit so much because there's so many kids, they get out of high school and it's just like, what am I going to do? I'm watching, my oldest son right now. He wants to do something in business. His mom's successful in it, and she's accountant by trade, and does very little accounting and hasn't in years, and has been very successful. But who's to say he's going to be?
Yeah.
In that, I'm not saying he won't.
Right,
I mean, my son's smart, but he's got a cousin that's the same age that went straight to. Well, he got his diesel mechanics degree, but works for the power company, and he's making money.
Mm-hmm.
At 20 years old, he makes what I make. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he's doing very well for himself. And so I think sometimes college is a trap. It's money racket, in my opinion.
Oh, it is. It is.
Why do I have to take an art class?
And
it's not part of what I'm going to do.
Who defines general education?
Yeah, yeah.
What you have to even do what you want to do, or take the classes that you want to take.
If I went through high school and I took math and science and all that, if it's not, there's no reason, in my opinion, for a doctor to have to take a sociology class or well, maybe sociology would be okay. Why does he need a history class in college?
Right.
Give him those years to study the body. Yeah. You know what I mean? To do what he's doing.
Unless it's medical history or something.
Yeah. But I mean, world history, what does that do in you beyond high school?
Right.
Anyway, that's all.
I mean, how much more do you have to know other than what you learn in high school?
Right.
How much more can you know? I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of history and all this other stuff.
Yeah, but I mean.
No, I totally agree.
Napoleon fighting wars is not brain surgery.
No.
It's two different things, you know. So anyway, I can go down that topic. So you join the military, you end up in the motor pool.
Yeah.
5 years active, 3 inactive.
And didn't get into much. Well, the only thing I should say at that point, remember, I'm not a drinker, right? That was the bad thing about the military then. When you were enlisted, it was not a big base, like some of the bases got bowling alleys and movie theaters and all this other crap, right? Some of the smaller bases, man, just you had to go out.
Else to do.
You had to go out. Other than there was always a club.
Yeah.
On base.
Yeah.
There was always an E club. There was always an officers club. You could guarantee that, right? And so we were enlisted. We weren't officer candidates, So, the enlisted club. The only thing was $2 pitchers. Yeah,
get you.
So I learned to drink in the military.
Yeah.
And at the time, remember, the drinking age was 19.
Yeah.
And they changed it when I was 20, when I was 19, but I was already 19. They couldn't say, hey, you can't drink anymore.
Yeah.
So they grandfathered me in.
Yeah.
You know, so
I really don't think that even matters if you're in the military, really.
No. If you can take a bullet for your country, you ought to be able to drink the cold beer.
It shouldn't matter.
No, it should not.
I'm not an advocate for just alcoholism and drugs and things like that. But like, if I can die for my country, I should be able to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
If you can put a loaded M16 in my hands and me go take another man's life, I should be able to drink a cold beer.
I should be able to do it with a cigarette hanging in my mouth.
And I'm not saying, I'm not advocating that.
No,
but I'm just saying, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I met my kid's mom. Let me go ahead and put it out there. I'm on my third marriage, just to kind of set the stage for what's going on.
Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm. And that's a podcast for another time. Sure. Man, this woman is the flipping world. You know what I mean? And I'm just so knocked out of my socks by her.
There's a quote you told me one time that you and Debbie said, and I tell Candace this all the time. It's I could be in a cardboard box under a bridge as long as you're with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a story that we've got. I don't think one episode's going to do it, because I've got some fascinating stories, and I'm talking about some devastating events that that's what I was explaining to Chris about, man, is that I truly believe God allowed me. He didn't punish me. He wasn't mad at me. You know what I'm saying? He allowed me to go through these things so that I can share and help other folks who are struggling and don't know what to do.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
you know what I mean? And it's just, I mean, I've heard people had 2 or 3, like me, I got 100, but you know what I mean? Excuse me. And things get really crazy, dude. This is just the turmoil that my life started as. Yeah. I know God did not mean it to be that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he definitely didn't want to see this.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to see any of it. But
we make our decisions. But here's the thing, man. If I've never been through anything in my life, the best I can be is sympathetic or empathetic.
Right.
But if I've walked it, I can show you how to get out of it.
Yep. Or at least tell you.
Yeah.
How I got out of it.
How I got out
of it. Here's an
option. And here's an option.
Yeah. Yeah. So, met my kid's mom, and we were not, again, this time not going to church. She was from Korea, nationalized student, and her parents came here. Her dad was in the military, from the Korean military to the U.S. military, and her English wasn't very good, but I just I'd spent some time when I was in the military, and I don't know, I had an Asian persuasion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And
I mean, I like redheads.
Yeah, she was a pretty girl, and you know what I mean? So either way, we weren't living the life we should have, but I remember her coming to me, and she knew how bad I wanted to have kids. She knew that was just my passion. If I was going to get married, I wanted to have kids.
Yeah. How old are you at this time?
I am 20. Was still in the military, was home on leave. We'd had an inspection, a Class A uniform inspection. So I'm talking about had the suit, the tie, the medals, the blue rope, the green beret, the whole, you know what I mean? So me and my cousin are coming back from the drill, and that's when Miller Genuine Draft first came out. It said like 25-cent draft or something. We like almost killed 3 people getting off the interstate. You know what I mean? Right there at the Holiday Inn at Birmingham.
Couldn't get there quick enough.
Right down 59. You know,
not a good place.
Yeah. Well, Notre Dame was a cool little club back then, a little dance club stuff. And anyways, so I'm sitting there, and me and my cousin are there at the table, across the dance floor on the other table. This little Asian girl and her friend. And I don't know why, I just looked at my cousin and I said, I'm going to marry that girl right there. He said, man, you've only had 1 or 2 beers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How many you in?
Yeah. What'd you do? Did you get a shot up there at the, But dance for the matter. The rest is history. She came to me and she said, "I want you to find somebody else because I can't have kids." She had lost a couple, been in an abusive relationship where it was just bad, and she could not have kids. She said the chances of her having kids were just slim and none. We were together for a year before we got married. No kids, no. We were not
You're not trying to not have them.
not trying to not have. We weren't living,
Right.
weren't living right, but we were just living.
Right.
Like I said, I'm gonna keep it
Yeah.
honest, keep it
Yeah,
fresh.
that's
you
what we're
know
here
what I'm
for.
saying? So, back then you had to have a blood test
Mm-hmm.
to get your marriage license, right? So, the doctor calls and says there was an abnormality. Yeah, I guess that's it. There was something abnormal on her blood test. So I went to the doctor. He said she was pregnant. Well, we'd already had invitations, dresses, and we're getting married like the next month.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing changed. We just got married. Well, he was born 8 months later.
Good looking kid too.
Yeah.
Stud.
Yeah.
He's a stud.
Oh yeah, it's a good kid. And then, when I got out of the military, I went to the carpenter apprenticeship, straight out. And my grandfather was a carpenter and an engineer, chemical engineer, same time. So I built homes. That was his passion. He was a farmer and carpenter back in Oklahoma. Right. So that was and I wanted to be like Grandpa, So that's what I did. So I'm a carpenter. We're doing our thing, and got into a little bit of trouble. There, Jason was about a year old. She left. Took him. I came home from work one day and she was gone. Yeah, I was hooked up with an old friend of mine. He's like, "Man, now you can make some quick money." I said, "I got a baby. We're just barely scraping by." We were renting a room for my dad. And I was slinging a little bit on the side, and we had a little utility closet. It had the water heater and brooms and whatnot in there, Well, I had the stuff on the shelf in there, ready to prepare it and break it all up and everything else. She came home and there was 10 grams of cocaine on the tray in the cabinet. And there was a half bath, so it was a toilet and sink there. She almost flushed it down the toilet. But she knew that I didn't have the money.
Yeah, to recover it.
That, you know what I mean? I didn't have the money to buy it. So
right.
I probably got it on her front.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'd have probably been killed.
Right.
So she didn't. She just left it where it was. I know what it was. She broke a jar. She dropped a jar of jam in the kitchen and had to go to the closet to clean it up and was looking for the stuff and saw that, So yeah, she left. And my dad knew where they were, but he wouldn't tell me.
Mm-hmm.
He was afraid I would, do something stupid.
Yeah.
And so I cleaned up, straightened out, and we got back together. And so now it's 3 years. Jason's almost 3. And she gets pregnant. So from nothing to
2
to 1 year, 3 years of
nothing,
no birth control, no nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean? She just couldn't have kids. We just didn't even think about it. Well, she's pregnant again, baby girl, and thought it changed my life. So now I got 2, and I was trying to play in a band too, in addition to working every day. Still trying to party, still trying to do my thing. Well,
you're a grown up, but you don't want to be a grown up.
Yeah, but I'm still barely 24.
Yeah.
So I'm still a kid. You think about some of the guys that we work with, dude. There's but
Well, I
40% of
mean,
them are under
yeah, I mean,
25.
my oldest son, I mean, he's 20 and he's a responsible young man, but like he's still, hey, Dad, can I go to the gym? Yeah, you're
Yeah,
20 years old. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I was married at 22.
yeah,
My wife was 20 when we got married, and we were living on our own.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and I'm not saying that like he couldn't do that. I mean, he absolutely could, but it's just you're still a kid. I mean, we were kids when we got married.
And we can't say young because you think about our parents and our
Oh yeah,
grandparents.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Youth wasn't the deal.
No,
Maturity,
maturity.
that's the deal,
Yeah.
right? So I was never. I mean, God help me, I still haven't matured.
Yeah, me
You
either.
know what I'm saying?
I'm still 13.
I'm still a kid. I'm
Yeah,
still
13-year-old
just
me shows up a couple
yeah,
times a day.
yeah. Till physical me shuts me down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I'm 18 all day long until it's like, oh God,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. You want to play
but
basketball? Sure.
yeah,
Boy, I got to take a break.
yeah, yeah. Did you bring the ibuprofen with you?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So now I got two, and I just really we clashed too much. She was almost 6 years older than me. So she was already way mature
Yeah.
when we first got together,
Yeah.
and I still want to do something. I had toned it way down, but I would come home on a Friday after being in the heat all week, and have me a 6-pack, and she'd be like, "You gonna drink that whole thing?" I was like, "Well, probably eventually, but I
Yeah.
mean, that's why I bought it. It's 6. If it was an 18-pack or something, I'd say, maybe you may have a problem.
Might spread it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? But it's just that we never, I don't know. I was too young. Like her mom said, you were too young. She was too young. I just couldn't get it together.
Yeah.
And, she said to me one time, she said, you can't be a rock star and a dad at the same time.
Mm.
Well, there's a bunch of guys that are doing it
All right.
and have done it,
All right.
but I wasn't one of those guys.
Well, but you don't see the other side of that though. You're just seeing the rock star side. You don't know if it is creating problems for their families or not. It just looks like it may not be. You know what I mean?
Right.
They do
Right.
it, but
And there weren't a whole lot of them
yeah.
in the 80s.
Oh,
and the
you should
90s.
watch. If you haven't seen it, you should watch the documentary on Ric Flair that's on Peacock. And he gets into how he just felt like he had to be Ric Flair. He couldn't be Richard Fleer.
Yeah.
And the trauma that it put on his family and stuff that it put him through. He's like, I'm providing for them well, but I'm never home.
Yeah.
I'm their dad, but I'm not their dad.
Yeah.
So in a sense, I see where she agree. I can agree with her statement on that. Although I can't agree that it can be done because there's been plenty of people who've done it too.
Oh yeah, and more now. But you look at there weren't a whole lot of there weren't a whole lot of rock star dads and the hair bands and the metal bands, and that's what was that's where I was at.
Yeah,
So hair bands and
and ain't got no hair
and ain't a drop. Yeah, it all came out of my chin.
Yeah, mine too.
So I really started getting. I went downhill really quick, really quick, because I had no more structure. I didn't have that home life. I was just a dad on the weekends and every other weekend.
Yeah.
I went back to slinging again. It's like I just I knew.
Yeah, I knew I could make money doing it.
I knew I could make money doing it, and I wouldn't have to pay for anything.
Yeah.
I would make money, make my money back, and stay high while I was doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was just a win-win as far as I was concerned. Well, 1992, maybe, 1992, got busted.
Mm.
And I had already, in 88, when we got separated, when she left, I got my first DUI. Right? Going to pick up my dad.